Welcome back to the KTAL News Now Digital Streaming Center. I'm Brittany DeFran. Now, our historical reporter here, Jacqueline Tribb, she initially wrote this story and compared history to an onion, where it looks one way from the outside, but once you take off a few layers, new life is breathed into the details by the people who lived it. And today's guest is extremely special. I am so happy and honored to be speaking with Dr. Elaine Simpkins. She joins me today to share the story of how her late husband, C.O. Simpkins, photograph with Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy ended up in a Southern Christian Leadership Conference Citizenship Workbook. Hi, Dr. Elaine. How are you doing today?
Yes, wonderful. Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here today to talk a little bit about this and really share this piece of history with our community today, right? So let's just dive right in. And if you can just help us understand, why this photo was taken. I know CEO was on a mission to fight for the rights of Black servicemen at the time. Can you tell us a little bit about why he was speaking with the Attorney General, Robert Kennedy? And, what was CEO looking to accomplish there with that conversation?
Equality. It was a time when he had gotten into the service and he decided to go and volunteer. He said, I don't want to be dragged out or anything because I have children to raise. He had 4 children at the time. And he said, the only way I can do things and make myself and everyone else be proud of me is I have to be a part of this war. He joined and was put into California, and he realized very, very quickly that he was not getting equal treatment, and none of the Black soldiers were really getting equal equipment and housing. Everything was different, and he understood that everything was supposed to be for everyone. So he wrote a letter, and he wrote it to President at that time, President Kennedy, and told him it was an unfair way they were living there. So, and he decided he wanted to talk to the president about that. The president gave him an opening to come talk to him, and he said, I'm going to bring the other Black soldiers with me. But when he came downstairs that morning to leave to go to Washington to meet uh, President Kennedy, he found he was alone. And all of the the soldiers there that were supposed to be with him just didn't show up. So he decided to go on his own and meet the president, which he did. He said, I want to speak to him, but vice president, the vice president showed up. And of course, he was equally as pleased to be there. Then he said they were going to try it again and get the soldiers. And Seal says, no, I'll just do this on my own. And he called Martin, told Martin what he was going to do and how he was feeling about him going. And Martin was so pleased. He says, the next time I'm on the trip with you. So he went down, met with the president, and immediately they began to do something on the base that would make all of the soldiers equal. So he had gotten accustomed to talking to one or the other of them to make things right where he was staying. And they invited him to come back to the White House. And this time he called Martin and asked Martin, no, told Martin, he says, I've got another appointment. He said, Martin says, can I go? He said, yes. And so Martin went with him. And it was at that time they became more involved what was going on in the service and how everybody needed to be treated equally. So that's about the story of that.
I love it. It's a beautiful story. And as you mentioned, fighting for equality. That's how this picture came to be. And then it ended up in the Citizenship Workbook. I'm so curious to ask, did CO know that this ended up in the Citizenship Workbook?
I can't hear
You
you.
can't hear me? Okay, one
No.
second. Is that better? Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
Okay. Did CO know that the photo ended up in the Citizenship Workbook?
No.
Wow. And so when you found out and you saw this photo, what did that mean to you? What kind of went through your mind when you saw this photo for the first time?
I was so proud of him. I realized all of the work he was doing was for equality for all. We all deserve the same treatment, no matter where we are and what we're doing. And he was not going to be turned around by anything different. And he was going to spend the rest of his life doing this. But it was kind of hard. He was also a dentist by trade, and he kept his dental office flowing. He kept his prices the same as he should have, or just wanted to give people a chance to be a part of everything that's going here on earth. And that's how his real fight began to come in. They told, before that, he had left uh, to go to, he left Washington, New York, and then he went when he decided to settle in New York rather than to come back to Shreveport because there were so many problems here. And he left under pressure where his homes were burnt, his children were beginning to get affected, and he had to leave here. And when he left, he first went to Chicago because they sent him a letter from here. Some of his friends said, they know you're going there and they're not going to stop giving you trouble. So instead of going to New York, he went to Chicago, tried to set up a practice there, which meant getting another license. He stayed there for about 6 to 8 months, and he couldn't really practice, so he did whatever he could do to keep his family going. Then he was able to get back to New York, open a practice, and become one of the top dentists in New York City.
So he definitely experienced a lot of hardship, but that didn't stop him to not only fight for his right of equality, but for so many others. And it truly is an inspiring story. This photo then ended up in the Citizenship Workbook that assisted others in the community to kind of educate them to learn how to vote and understand their rights that they had at the time, which is history right here in our community. And I appreciate you so much for sharing that piece of history with us that you lived through, right? And so now, as we share this story with our community, how would you hope that this continues to inspire others today?
Just coming out, being a part of everything that's going on. Don't sit back and say, they will do, you should do. And we that know more about it should be out there helping them to do this. And I promise that I will be doing whatever I can to do to keep things rolling. I believe in what he did. And there's nothing on earth that would stop me from anyone that needed me to be out there helping them to do the job that needs to be done.
Absolutely. When you talk about CO, I definitely see and hear that you are still so empowered and inspired by him, and it is so beautiful to see. So, thank you, Dr. Elaine. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, you guys, for more details, you can see it all right here on ktalnews.com. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.